So is Georgia really 7 points better than the Florida Gators? That's where the early predictions are. You can bet on that right now. Do y'all think that that's the right line or not? We're going to talk about that for a while. And some scoop from Stuckey's. They're back. Stay on the lookout. Make sure you're getting your pecan log rolls. All these trips down to Jacksonville, they have been loaded up with Stuckey's through the years. You can just stop off and get them. Really a great car ride down there. Go through Eastman. You can get some Stuckey's through there if you're coming from Athens or Atlanta even. But this game has been, this is the game every single year for the Dogs and for the Gators too. I mean, the importance of this game has really skyrocketed higher and higher over the last 15, 20 years, whatever it is. It was always a big game, don't get me wrong. But now, you're going to see Georgia roll into this thing. And these are lines you can bet right now. But they're so early, most people would wait. And Georgia's getting they're getting a touchdown on a neutral field. Do you think that's too high? Do you think that's too low? There's a lot of optimism from Georgia fans about this game and this rivalry. And this really is Georgia's biggest rivalry. They've only got 3 rivalries. No matter how many times we go through this, there's only really 3 rivalries Georgia has. Auburn, Tech, and the Gators. Georgia's not rivals with South Carolina. Georgia's not rivals with Clemson. You want to make the case that Georgia's a rival with Tennessee? I mean, okay. Does that mean they have a rivalry with Vanderbilt and Kentucky? So you get my point. But there's so much on the line with this game. And to see the line come out, some places have it higher than MGM, which is what I'm looking at. But it's anywhere from 7 to 10. Do you think that 10 is too high? There's a lot of expectation coming into this season for Georgia. A lot, needless to say. We don't know what the preseason rankings are going to be yet. Those will start coming out in about 2 months. But a touchdown to me doesn't seem like too much. Once you start getting into double digits, I don't know. That's a little trickier for me. I mean, when you look, this rivalry has only had a double digit, line once in the last 6 years, and that was in 2017 when that was just a Florida team that was not prepared to play, and before that. In the last 10, let's see, even more than 10 matchups, essentially this game has been within a touchdown. And the favorite doesn't always win this game. I mean, last year Georgia was a 3-point favorite. They lost. In 2014, Georgia as a 12-point favorite, lost. 2012, the Gators as a 6.5-point favorite, lost. So it happens. 2007. The Gators come in as a 7.5-point favorite and get beat. So, the favorite doesn't always win this game, but it is a pretty good indicator of who will win. Yes, there are, if you want to call it slight upsets here and there. Yeah, I mean that happens too. But this game, this rivalry really has changed. Needless to say, I mean I can't imagine in the 90s particularly, Georgia was a double-digit underdog 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in 6 years from 1995 to 2001. 5 times in 6 years to their arch rival. I mean, it was a joke. And they were getting absolutely smoked. Only one of those games did they win in an upset. It was a shocker when they blew Florida out 37-17 in 1997 on what was a very hot day on November 1st. I remember it was the day after Halloween. These teams coming into it are much more steady as programs. I mean, what Dan Mullen's done for the Gators has gotten them back to reality, I would say. The question is, can he take them to an SEC championship? I don't know. Kirby obviously has made Georgia into one of the premier programs in the country. I would not say that about Florida right now. We'll see if they can continue to grow. There's a lot of questions about quarterback for the Gators. And there's been a lot of turnover. I mean, you lose Kyle Pitts, you lose Kyle Trask, you lose a lot of playmakers from the Gators from this past season. Who will be the quarterback? Will it be Richardson? Will it be Emory Jones? We don't know. And then this game is so far away. I'll tell you this. The lower that line goes, the more comfortable I would be betting Georgia for sure. Because there are just so many fewer questions. And let's just say JT Daniels gets hurt. You have a few choices all of a sudden that you can pick from. A running back gets hurt. George Pickens gets hurt. Is George Pickens going to be healthy enough to play in this game? That's asking a little bit or a lot, however you want to look at it. But, Georgia's they're definitely the better program. And I think, are they the better team? This year they certainly should be. If 7 is not quite where you want your number to be, maybe you hold out until the fall and just see what you got. I mean, Florida, if you look at their schedule in 2021, this is a Florida team that's going to have to play Alabama. And that's not going to be easy. They've got, LSU like they do every single year. They've got Georgia. I'll go through it real quick. Florida Atlantic, that game is in Gainesville. They play at South Florida, which, South Florida's not good. But, what if they were good? That would be, why are you playing in Tampa? Because the answer to that is they never leave Florida to play a game. And they host Alabama. They host Tennessee. I mean, they certainly should beat Tennessee. Tennessee is not at Florida's level. Kentucky, they're not going to lose that game, but they do not match up well with Kentucky for some reason. I say they're not going to lose that. I don't know. Vanderbilt, they will smoke. They play at LSU, a tricky game. LSU's got its own issues before a week off, before they take on the Dogs. And then they go to South Carolina. Certainly should win that game. They have not played well against Carolina sometimes. A gimme game against Samford, and then out to Missouri on November 20th. That's the game I'd be watching out for. I mean, if you're trying to figure out how you can get the Gators to 8-4, it's the Missouri game that you better be careful of. Because I don't know. I don't think Florida State can hang with these guys. Missouri out there in the cold. What if it's cold? Florida doesn't like to play in the cold. And honestly, they're playing exactly 1, 2, 3, 4 games not in the state. So, every year they play Florida State in the state. Every year they play the Dogs in the state. So that game in Columbia, Missouri, that's not like playing Vandy in November. That's playing in Missouri. I was just out there this time of year. It was 30-something degrees when Georgia kicked off with Mizzou. It was a miserable game to play. It was not fun at all. Stuckey scoop. This is kind of interesting. Georgia this is going to be the 5th year in a row. Well, we're assuming right now they are favored. This is going to be the 5th year in a row that Georgia is favored to beat Florida going into the game. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That has never happened by any standard. Someone else can show me games from the 80s. I'm not aware of any time since record keeping has occurred that Georgia has been favored over the Gators 5 years in a row. There's been times when they've been a couple years in a row, 11, 12 didn't, so it was 13, 14, but there are a couple 2-year strings and stuff like that, but that shows how much this thing has flipped. And Florida people are very eager to get this win. They're very eager for Dan Mullen, who may or may not be there for long term, to prove what he's got against Kirby Smart, who they do not respect as a coach. They think he's not very good, which is ridiculous. Dan Mullen is good. Kirby Smart is good. They're both good. But that 19 game really hurt the Gators a lot. 5 years in a row as the favorite. I tell you what, that's hard to believe. Having covered Georgia for 20 years and the struggles they've had in Jacksonville, to be favored for the 5th year in a row, Well, that's Stuckey scoop for sure. We'll be interested to see how that works out. Let's go talk about it on the website, dogpost.com. We'll see you there.